Hans, you work with a lot of sellers, right? You're the number one agent in Waltham, so you're dealing with sellers every single day. I find it interesting. You have test questions ready to go on the topic of home inspections because a lot of things can come up.
Absolutely. And once the buyer obviously has their home inspection, they come back to us and want to sometimes have these issues addressed that have come up. So test question number one that I go over with the seller. Is their concern a true defect? What the buyer found. Was it something unknown? How serious was it? Number two, is their request reasonable? In other words, I had a situation where there was a roof recently that was older, but it wasn't leaking, and it was fine for now. But the buyer wanted a brand new roof replaced. Well, that doesn't necessarily sound reasonable per se. Maybe a credit towards it, or maybe somehow address the issue, but not necessarily reasonable. That said, then you have to go on to test question number three, which is the next buyer going to have the same issue with the property? Is that roof so old there the next buyer will turn around and say, you know what, this roof is old and we'd like something towards it as well. So that's something we need to keep in mind too. And then finally, is this something we can, if we work something out with this buyer, or I should say if we don't work something out with this buyer, are we going to be able to duplicate the price that we already received, especially when we're going back on market? And that might be considered some sort of a stigma per se, where brokers always ask, as I'm sure you've heard too, hey, why the home go back on the market? Right. And then obviously you're disclosing the situation, that it was an older roof, and the next buyer might be concerned too. So we need to go through every one of those test questions, and some might be yes, some might be no, but we need to balance them off.
When you're working with a professional like yourself, you address, I'm sure, a lot of these up front before the home goes on the market. So if there's any major issues and it's coming down the pike with an inspection, sometimes it costs money, but it's best to do it up front and clear it out of the way. Otherwise, you have to take a hit in the price.
Oh, absolutely. And I just sold a property just last weekend, and the situation was just that. We had to disclose up front that the whole rear of the property was rotted out. It was an estate sale. I mean, it's very obvious per se to many home buyers, but not all home buyers. And it was just something to be presented prior to a buyer making an offer, just so everyone was on the same page going in.
Right. It's interesting to see how different buyers react to situations, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes they get blown out of proportion, and the next thing you know, you have this whole whirlwind with all parties, and everybody's stressing out. If you can professionally bring everybody together, address the test questions like you said, and take emotion out of it, right? Yeah. It usually ends in a solid result versus Absolutely. Letting the emotions run away.
Prepare accordingly. Always prepare.
Right. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you.
And if you're in the market to buy or sell in the Waltham area and would like to connect with Hans directly, check out hansbrings.com. You can share this video below, and remember, we have more tips just like this right here on boston.com.